That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest arms on YouTube are back in the shed. Now, hit the like button if you're pleased to see Steve Kalclash, home of the biggest arms on YouTube, back on YouTube, back making videos. Hit that like button if you're pleased to see these giant guns of steel, the biggest on YouTube. Hit the like button if you're pleased to see it back. Now then, we're about 4 weeks removed from my Ironman, and of course we like to keep things recent and relevant, so we're banging out a review of my Ironman experience, my first ever Ironman experience, shortly after the event has finished, 4 weeks after, or almost 4 weeks thereafter. I like to get my content out on time, of course, as you know, at Steve Kalclash Fitness. Now, before we get cracking, there's plenty. Everyone's asking, where's the review of the all the shoes that I need to do. Basically, I've got a backlog of shoes, of compression gear, of all kinds of things. It's coming. I'm going to start churning them out now. So please, everyone that's been asking for this, that, and the other, all the reviews that I promised, it's coming. So please bear with me. Now then, Ironman done, in the books. Let's talk about the event. Let's talk about the race. So my training. We started with Bigman to Ironman, didn't we? So anyone that followed that, feels like a long time ago now. But actually, I think that started at end of September last year, or maybe beginning of October. At which point I was quite large and couldn't run. I'd had maybe a year and a half off of any kind of endurance training, running, anything like that, and YouTube. I'd had the time off as well. So I couldn't even actually run a mile when I first started training about 9-10 months ago. Training really peaked and was going super well over the winter, which is my favourite season to train is winter, because I'm a Viking and Vikings love that kind of weather. So training peaked probably in March, sort of April time, at which point I started to get distracted by other things, and then we had this huge summer heat wave, and there's really no excuses. Instead of training, I was sunbathing. So race day comes along, me and my man Phil, we're staying in his caravan right on the site. Beautiful site, Outlaw Triathlon. Brilliant event, really well run. Got there. Phil had prepared enough vegan food for an army of people for a week in his caravan. We had full oven, microwave, smoothie maker, the whole works. It was like being being at home really. And so we ate like absolute kings, and we're about a 10-minute walk from the start line, so it was phenomenal. We're in probably the best heat wave that I can remember in my entire life in the UK. We're on about a 2 to 3 month heat wave streak. It was lovely. And then the day before the Ironman hit, we had one of the worst storms we've had in quite some time. And on race day, we were having 44-mile-an-hour winds, tons of rain all day, and not a ray of sunshine beaming through the clouds at all. But it is what it is, you know, and like I said, I've trained all the way through the winter, and living on the coast, I'm used to the wind. It's not very pleasant, I don't like it, but I'm used to it. And, you know, everyone's in the same boat. So, woke up, the morning was freezing cold, all I packed was vests and a shorts for casual wear, so I had to buy a hoodie to keep me warm that morning. And basically turned up. The swim was supposed to be 1 lap around this huge rowing lake, and I'm already 5 minutes in, I haven't got to the race. Let's consolidate this a little bit. The lake, instead of being a 1 lap, was 3 laps, and it was very competitive because you had to get out twice, run across, so that was like 100 metres, which added time. My time was at 1 hour 8. I've never been in such a hectic swim where everyone is so crammed together. It's a mass start, everyone's so squished together because of the course change. It meant instead of everyone being able to start wide and go up, head towards the top, everyone had to start very narrow, and it was a very rough swim. And even though it was the roughest swim I've ever done, I was super chilled. I don't know if it was, you know, at times, everywhere you put your hands, you were just touching arms, legs, feet, faces, heads, whatever. I got smacked right in the, I think it was a fist, smacked one of my goggles, smashed right onto my face. So like one of my goggles was like literally sucking my eye out like that. But I was so super chilled. I don't know what had come over me, but it's my best swim I've ever had. Every time I came up to breathe, which for me is every 3, I'd come up and I'd hear people, hyperventilating. So like 1, 2, 3, come up, like this. I shouldn't laugh. You know, it wasn't funny. It was just a surreal experience for me. In my head, it was I was just hearing this tune, do 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 do, all along the whole thing, and I was just imagining, because there's just so many bubbles, I was just seeing like heads roll from the battle and swords and shields going everywhere and that type of thing. In my mind, that was what was happening. Then coming up and hearing the hyperventilating like this, and then, you know, every turn, coming out, getting out, running around. The whole thing was great. Towards the end, Young Guns was playing in my head. The swim was absolutely, you know, brilliant. Savage, horrible in some ways, but for me, it was just like the most chilled, zoned out time. I don't know why, but in all that chaos, all that craziness, was just this time of sort of meditation within some sort of medieval Viking battlefield. It was awesome. It was brilliant. Spent a long time in transition. My back always seizes up when I'm swimming for that long, so I had to sort of try and walk like a stick man, or like a robot or something like that. Spent a long time in transition, put on a full cycling kit, because I was like, I'm not going for a time. I'd like to go under 12 hours for my first one, and considering the weather conditions, I put on full cycling kit, arm warmers, got out there. The wind was about averaging about 20 miles an hour ish to start with for the first lap. So the first sort of 40 miles was done at an easy just over 21 miles an hour on the TT, no problem at all, just easy going. And then the wind started whipping up. So it's basically, you do one lap, then you do another lap over here, then you do another lap of the first one. Coming back from the second lap, the wind just whipped up to 44 miles an hour, and it just become incredibly hard. And then the second lap of the first lap, if that makes sense, was just ridiculous. The wind, it just was relentless. It just seemed to be in your face no matter where you were, and everyone was sort of grumbling. My overall average speed came down to 19. I think it was 19 on the nose, actually. It was 19.1. I think it just hit 19. By the end, I was done. I've never cycled over 80 miles in my life, so that was the first time I've ever cycled over 80 miles as well in those conditions. Raining heavily and plenty of very heavy winds to set me back, but it's cool. What I was surprised about when the event, again, incredibly well run. It felt like there was a marshal that was out to get me. I thought I was going to at least pick up one penalty point, but luckily nothing like that happened. I got off the bike and my back, my word, I've never been in so much pain. I think the combination of being in like flat all the time from the swim, and then whatever it was, just under 6 hours on the bike, in the aero position on the bike. Wow, that was like something else. I just could not move. I could not move at all. You know, I was just like stuck in that position. Incredible pain all the way down my spine, which again, nice long time. I think both transitions were about 20 minutes, not quick at all. But I managed to come out of transition. I could actually have movement in my upper body again. And starting the run was probably like, when you run a marathon, it felt like starting on mile 22, to be perfectly honest. Now the time, so swim time was 1:08, cycling time was 5:57. The wind seriously held me back there. I wanted 5.5 hours, and then the run was horrendous. That was 4:18. Felt like I say, starting on mile 22. Got a few miles under my belt, feeling horrendous, taking on plenty of caffeine, too much caffeine. But that was what was keeping me going, to be honest, on race day, and it was horrendous. All I could think about was getting to the next aid station, and getting some food in. And the Outlaw event, I must say, the aid stations, the feed stations, were spot on. They had crisps or chips, as our friends from across the pond call it for some reason. They had those, which I had a few of those because I felt like I needed the salts, but then after a while, the fattiness of the crisps, chips, started to weigh heavy on my stomach, so that was a mistake. But they had oranges and bananas, which all I could think of for the entire race was getting to my next oranges and bananas, really. And the oranges were good, so I was just like cramming down tons of oranges, a few bananas, Coca-Cola, flat Coca-Cola, which is something I swear by for runs over 18 miles. Didn't have any of the, had my own gels, and there's like high five energy drinks and things like that, but I generally just stuck to the fruit, a couple of crisps, and that was generally fine to get you through. And all you could think about, or all I could think about, was just lasting to the next thing, to the next aid station. The weather was horrendous. I was freezing cold, and you know, to start with, my shoulder started killing. I thought I was, you know, your mind starts playing tricks on you when you're going through the run. You start figuring out, if I was going to have to walk the entire thing, how long is it going to take me? This is, you know, your brain's just telling you can't do it, you can't do it. But for some reason, you just continue going. You just continue going. It's the most surreal experience. It's painful, it hurts, it sucks. You just continue going to the next feed station, next feed station, next feed station, which are roughly about 1.3, 1.6 miles apart from each other every time. It's a very flat run course, mercifully, and yeah, you just start talking yourself out of it. And you know, you have bursts of feeling okay, you have bursts of feeling absolutely terrible, and then once you get to the once I got towards about a kilometre before the finish line, I don't really work in kilometres, but I know it's a kilometre because there's a sign that said 1 kilometre to the finish line. That was a bit of a giveaway. Once you saw that, all of a sudden, you find, as I always say it on my channel, you always find something inside. When you've got nothing else left to give, when you see the finishing line, you hear the crowds, you hear the announcer announcing everybody's name, you've always got something else to give. And my befuddled mind had worked out that if I run at a certain pace, I'll go in under 12 miles. There was a few of us that were in a similar condition, rain beating down on us, no sun, wind in our face, our brains were just garbage by that point, American word, rubbish. And we managed to work out, right, we need to run at this pace to get in under 12 miles. So I started just picking up the pace with a kilometre to go, looking at the watch, running, picking up the pace, see the finishing line, and just boom, starts just going into a full-on absolute animalistic sprint. Best finishing line feeling. One of the best feelings in my entire life was crossing that finishing line for the Ironman. I crossed it like this, the arms, the biggest arms on YouTube came out for that red carpet, just celebrating, going absolutely crazy. Wonderful experience, brilliant. The merchandise was good as well. Outlaw Triathlon 2018 Ironman distance, absolutely in the books. Afterwards I said never again, and I absolutely meant it. I've pre-registered for next year's event, and I'll be putting my whatever entrant, I'll be entering it as soon as it enters. Mine still probably is. Joints, mind, 4 weeks on, still recovering a little bit, but I'm back in training. The bike needs to be recovered a little bit. The handlebar tape's coming off because of all the rain. The chain went rusty because we had to leave it overnight in transition. They didn't provide covers. It's muddy as all hell and needs a bit of TLC. I've got a triathlon a week on Sunday, and it's a team event, so I need to make sure I'm in top form for that. But basically that is it. Ironman in the books, videos, back up and running. I just need a little bit of time out, mental space, physical recovery, and we're coming back to YouTube. Okay, so let me know in the comments down below what other videos do you want to see. Also let me know at 14 minutes of me rambling on about Ironman triathlons, who's still watching. And I'm working towards now another Ironman triathlon, even though I said I'd never do another one. I did it in 11 hours 54, by the way. I want to do, now let me think, under 11 hours for my next one. I said I'd never do one. I hate the long distance training, but for some reason I'm signing up to another one again. So last series was called Bigman to Ironman. What's the next series going to be? Anyone watching this, A, let me know in the comments down below that you are still watching this at 15 minutes, and B, let me know what can the new video series be for Bigman to Ironman. Is done, it's in the books, this is the last episode. What can the next one be? Working towards Ironman 2019, sub 11 hours. Guys, as always, you know what to do. I'm not a sheep, you are not a sheep. There's no sheep in the Steve Kalclash Fitness shed. 15 minutes of me rambling. Keep it rolling.